She gave up her nursing career for his traditional values, and now he won't even let her leave the house. She gave up everything. Her career. Her independence. Her entire sense of self. And when she finally worked up the courage to ask for just 2 days a week back, he looked her in the eyes and said she should just submit. Submit. Like she is a form being filed away in a cabinet. Like she is not a person. Picture this. You are a 30-year-old woman who spent years building a nursing career you genuinely loved. You were good at it. Not just okay at it, genuinely skilled, passionate, the kind of nurse who showed up with purpose every single shift, who remembered patients by name, who stayed late not because she had to but because walking away felt wrong when someone still needed her. Nursing was not just a job she had fallen into. It was something she had chosen, studied for, fought for, built shift by shift into a real and meaningful identity. You were also raising 2 kids on your own, keeping everything together, managing a full life with both hands and still finding a way to be present for your children. Dinner on the table, homework checked, lunches packed, nighttime routines held together through sheer determination. You were tired, probably, a lot of the time. But you were also whole. Then you meet someone. Things move fast, a new baby enters the picture, and suddenly the life you built for yourself starts disappearing one piece at a time. Not because of a tragedy. Not because of circumstance. But because the man you are with decided he gets to make that call for you. Let that sit for a second. She did not walk into this relationship asking to be a stay-at-home mother. She did not sit across from him at some early dinner and say, "You know what I would love? To give up my license, my income, my colleagues, my professional identity, and spend the rest of my days managing a household while you go out into the world and stay fully intact as a person." She did not sign any kind of agreement that said she would hand over her career, her autonomy, and her future in exchange for a relationship. That was never the deal. But somewhere between falling in love and moving into his house, the deal changed. Maybe it happened gradually, one small concession at a time, each one seeming reasonable in isolation. Maybe it happened fast, under the pressure of a new baby and the exhaustion that comes with it. But however it happened, the result was the same. She ended up somewhere she never agreed to go. And she was the only one who did not get a vote on that change. Here is what makes this story so difficult to sit with. She was not even asking for much. She was not saying she wanted to go back full-time. She was not saying she wanted to be away from her children for long stretches of time. She was asking for 2 days a week. 2 days to either finish her degree or do some shifts as a nurse. 2 days to exist as a human being with a purpose beyond the walls of that house. 2 days to remember what it felt like to be competent at something outside of caregiving, to have a colleague hand you a task and complete it, to feel the particular satisfaction of work that is yours. And his response was to tell her she did not want to actually be a mother. That she was selfish. That wanting something for herself meant she did not love her children enough. Think about how devastating that is to hear from someone who is supposed to know you. Think about what it does to a person, over time, to have their most basic desires reframed as moral failings. That is not traditional values. That is control wrapped in the language of tradition. Now think about what her daily life actually looks like. Every single piece of the household is her responsibility. All the cooking. All the cleaning. Every appointment, every grocery run, every diaper change, every school pickup, every fever managed at 2 in the morning, every birthday cake baked from scratch, every permission slip signed and returned on time. The mental load alone, the invisible labor of tracking every moving part of a family's life, is a full-time job before she has even touched a mop or started dinner. He goes to work. He comes home. He has an identity outside of the house. He has colleagues who know his name and respect his opinions. He has a commute that, however annoying, represents a daily transition between 2 different versions of himself. He has coffee at a desk somewhere and probably chats with other adults about something other than nap schedules, something that reminds him he is a person with thoughts and opinions and a place in the wider world. She has none of that. She has 4 walls and a never-ending list of tasks and a man who thinks that is exactly how things should be because he is the man of the house. The phrase that stopped me cold was when he said he does not know why she will not just submit to this lifestyle. Just submit. Sit with the weight of that word for a moment. He did not say he wishes she felt more settled. He did not say he hopes they can work through her concerns together. He did not express any curiosity about why the woman he loves is unhappy. He used the word submit. Not compromise. Not discuss. Not find a middle ground that works for both of them. Submit. As if her entire role in this relationship is to comply with whatever he has decided the family structure should look like. As if her feelings, her education, her career history, and her sense of self are obstacles to be overcome rather than parts of a person he is supposed to love. The word submit does not belong in a partnership. It belongs in a hierarchy. And that tells you everything you need to know about how he sees her. And then there is this. He said he has the final say because he is the man of the house. Let's be very clear about what that sentence means. It means he does not view her as a partner. He views her as a subordinate. Someone who lives under his roof, follows his rules, and has no real authority over her own life. Not over her schedule. Not over her career. Not even over 2 days of her own week. That is not a marriage. That is not even a healthy roommate situation. That is one person holding power over another person and calling it values. And the scariest part is that he probably genuinely believes it. He probably sleeps fine at night. Because in his framework, he is doing everything right. He is the provider. He is the head of the household. And she is supposed to be grateful. What makes this even harder is that she already has 2 children from before this relationship that he took on fully. Which means she trusted him with the most important people in her life. She brought her kids into this. She looked at this man and decided he was safe enough, good enough, trustworthy enough to become part of her children's daily world. She restructured her entire existence around this relationship, this household, this vision of a future together. And in return, instead of building something together as equals, instead of honoring the vulnerability it takes to trust someone that completely, he has gradually stripped away every piece of her independence until the only thing left is the version of her that serves his vision of what a family should look like. The version that does not push back. The version that does not ask for anything. The version that has forgotten she was ever anything else. She said she feels trapped and controlled. She said she has never wanted this for herself. And she is absolutely right. Because what she is describing is not a lifestyle disagreement. This is not a situation where 2 people have different preferences about how to organize their household and they need to find common ground. This is not a scheduling conflict or a communication breakdown or a rough patch that couples counseling can smooth over in 6 sessions. This is a situation where one person has systematically removed another person's ability to make choices about their own life and then told them they should be grateful for it. That is a different thing entirely. And it deserves to be named clearly. Here is what I want to say to anyone who might be sitting on the fence about this. Values are real. Some people genuinely do want a traditional household setup, and there is nothing inherently wrong with that when both people choose it freely and both people feel good about it. When 2 adults look at each other and genuinely agree that one will work and one will manage the home, and when both feel respected and heard within that structure, that is a valid choice. But the word traditional does not cancel out the word consent. If she did not choose this, if she was pressured into quitting her job, if her requests for a tiny slice of independence are being denied and framed as selfishness, if the word submit is being used to end conversations rather than start them, then what he is calling traditional values is just control with a polite name. She also mentioned that she has trouble saying this out loud. That detail matters a lot. Because it tells you something about the environment she is living in. That kind of silence does not come from nowhere. It is built, slowly, through enough conversations that went badly, enough moments where her feelings were dismissed or turned against her, enough times that expressing a need resulted in being told she was wrong for having it. When someone cannot even voice their own feelings without it feeling dangerous or overwhelming, that is not a loving home. That is a home where her emotional expression has been suppressed to the point that she has to post to strangers on the internet just to hear herself think. Just to find out if she is allowed to feel what she feels. That is how far it has gone. She has 3 children in this house. She is their mother. She is the one doing everything for them every single day. And she deserves to be a full person while she does it. I called my lazy ex dirty during our breakup and now he wants me to pay for his therapy. 10:34 p.m. Claude Respondio. Here is the thing about this situation. Here is the thing about this situation. It is messy and uncomfortable and she does not come out of it looking perfectly clean. But she does come out of it looking human. And sometimes human is exactly right. Let us start from the beginning because the setup matters here. About 4 years ago she went through a brutal breakup. She was cheated on for months, knew about it, and stayed anyway because she was so in love she could not bring herself to leave. That is the kind of heartbreak that rewires you. The kind that does not just hurt, it hollows you out. It makes you question your instincts, your worth, and your ability to read the people closest to you. The kind that takes a long time to recover from. And the person who showed up for her when it all fell apart was not just any friend. It was her ex's absolute best friend. He chose her. He walked away from his best friend and stayed by her side. That is not a small thing. That is someone making a deliberate, costly decision to show up for a person who needed it, knowing full well what it would cost him socially. And eventually, a couple of months later, they started dating. Now I know some people are already raising an eyebrow at that timeline. But honestly, she was not the one who was cheating. She was the one who got cheated on. She did not owe her ex anything. And the fact that she wrestled with the guilt of dating his best friend, that she sat with that discomfort and took time before fully committing to the relationship, actually says something decent about her character. She did not leap. She thought about it. She felt the weight of it. That matters. So they built something real together. 3.5 years. She describes him in the early days as smart, handsome, funny, tall, someone with pretty eyes. You can hear in that description the version of him she fell for. The version that was present and engaged and worth investing in. She was genuinely invested. This was not a rebound fling that dragged on too long. She loved him. She had given him years of her life and had reasons to believe that was a good decision. And then year 3 arrived and things started unraveling in a very specific and very telling way. He lost his job. Okay, that happens, life is unpredictable. Losing a job can shake a person's sense of identity and direction, and a good partner extends grace during that period. She likely did. But instead of regrouping and looking for something new, he started refusing full-time positions because nothing was quite right for him. Weeks turned into months. The excuses piled up. The standards he claimed to have never seemed to align with anything that actually existed. Meanwhile, they were living together and she was quietly absorbing a significant chunk of their shared expenses. Rent. Groceries. Utilities. The invisible weight of keeping a household running while someone else sat still. That is already a difficult dynamic. But what makes it worse is that at the same time, his hygiene started deteriorating. Bathing maybe once a week. Not brushing his teeth every night. Walking around in the same clothes day after day even though she was still washing his laundry for him. Still doing that for him. Still taking care of him while he could not be bothered to take care of himself. Pause here for a second. She is paying the bills, doing the laundry, and he cannot manage a shower more than once a week. That is not a rough patch. That is not someone struggling to find their footing. That is one person carrying everything while the other one checks out entirely. And the cruelest part of that dynamic is how invisible it becomes. She probably told herself it was temporary. She probably made excuses for him in her own head for longer than she should have, because that is what you do when you love someone. You rationalize. You wait. You hope. And it was not just the hygiene and the money. He stopped showing up in the small ways too. No dates. No walks. Would not even drive his own car unless she paid for his gas. And when she said no, he would just stay home and ignore everything that required any effort from him. Think about what that does to a person over time. The slow erosion of feeling seen, of feeling like a partner rather than a caretaker. He became someone who treated every responsibility like it was optional and every inconvenience like it was a personal injustice aimed specifically at him. On top of all of that, he started turning every conversation into a lecture. Every opinion she had was wrong. Every feeling she expressed was something he had to argue with. She used the word mansplaining, and honestly, based on everything she described, that word fits. She was being managed and talked down to by someone who was contributing almost nothing to their shared life. So she made the call. She had probably been building toward it for a long time, turning it over in her mind, convincing herself and then talking herself back out of it. But eventually the weight became too much and she made the decision. She sat him down to end things like an adult. And instead of handling it with any dignity, he basically ran through every emotional reaction possible in the span of a few minutes. He begged. He cried. He yelled. The full spectrum, none of it graceful, all of it designed to destabilize her. And then, when none of that worked, when he saw that she was not going to be talked out of it, he looked her in the eye and said she was bad in bed. Specifically, he said she was bad at a particular intimate act. As a parting shot. As a final attempt to wound her on her way out the door, to make her carry something painful with her as she left. In the middle of a breakup he initiated nothing about. Oh, okay. So that is who we are dealing with. Her response was sharp. She told him she was not bad at it, she was just too disgusted to do it because of his lack of hygiene. And yes, that was brutal. She knows it was brutal. She said so herself. But here is the thing. He started it. He opened the door to that conversation with a cruel and humiliating comment designed to wound her on her way out. She walked through that door. And everything she said was, by her own account, completely true. She did not fabricate an insult. She told him the actual reason. Which almost makes it worse for him, when you think about it. He cried again, looked like he wanted to hit her, and left. Then came the texts. He told her she was awful, that she broke his heart, that she ruined his friendship with his old best friend. He wanted her to absorb the blame for all of it, every loss he had experienced, including the friendship he had already sacrificed years before she said a single unkind word to him. And then, the part that honestly made me laugh out loud, he told her that she made him feel unattractive and wounded his self-esteem and that she would be paying for his therapy. She will be covering his therapy bill. He said that with his whole chest. Let us talk about the verdict here because this one is actually pretty layered. Was her comment mean? Yes. Was it the kind of thing that could genuinely sting and linger? Absolutely. But here is what I keep coming back to. He spent months refusing to shower, refusing to work, refusing to engage in the relationship in any meaningful way. He let her carry the financial weight, the emotional weight, and the domestic weight while he declined to bathe regularly. And then when she finally ended it, when she finally reached the limit of what a person can reasonably absorb, his contribution to that conversation was to insult her most intimate efforts. He does not get to do that and then claim victim status. He does not get to throw the first punch and then be outraged when she punches back. Now she is asking if she should try to work things out with him if he becomes reflective. And I want to answer that question directly. No. The person she described is not in a temporary rough patch. A rough patch is when someone is struggling and fighting to get back on track, when you can still see the effort underneath the difficulty. What she described is someone who stopped fighting entirely. Someone who stopped caring about his health, his responsibilities, his relationship, and apparently his own basic dignity. And when confronted with the natural consequences of that, his instinct was to be cruel and then to cast himself as the victim of her cruelty. That is not a person who is one good conversation away from growth. That is a person who has a lot of work to do on himself, none of which she is responsible for. He asked her to pay for his therapy. Here is my honest opinion on that. If he wants to go to therapy, genuinely wonderful. He probably needs it. But the bill for that belongs to him, not to her. She did not cause his problems. She reflected them back to him in a harsh way, and he did not like what he saw. That is not the same thing as causing harm. You do not get to neglect yourself and your relationship for years and then hand someone the invoice for your healing. That is not how any of this works. She owes him nothing except maybe a firm, clear, final message that says this conversation is over. Let me know in the comments which story hit you harder, because honestly both of these had me going. If you made it this far, drop a like and subscribe, it genuinely helps more than you know.